Qian, and today I want to introduce evaluating the operating performance of free trade port zone, and it is by Professor Wakash. And this is my content. Let's start with introduction. With the rapid development of globalization, the interaction of regional economics has become a new trend. And under such a new trend, a new production model is then developed that manufacturers can produce their product in different countries and sell them worldwide. However, the production models need an effective transportation system and custom clearance process. Hence, some free economic zones become popular for FDI investors. And in here, FDI means foreign direct investment. It means foreigner investors directly input their money in an area. So, do you know what is FTPZ? Let me introduce you FPZ and FTZ first. FPZ is free port zone. It is located in a port hinterland. So, since it is not limited by the port hinterland, so the firm in this area are mostly logistic operators that can perform simple processing or re-export trade for import goods, and they can have production operation tax-free. As for FTZ, it's free trade zone. It is defined as a given zone in inland. And in this area, the firms are mostly manufacturers that can produce the processing service, and they can have production operation tax-free as well as FPZ. So based on the definition of FPZ and FTZ, we can define FTPZ as a zone integrating operation with manufacturing, with land, sea, air transportation, and storage, ports, customs service to achieve the distribution of the goods. And the FTPZ process includes both FPZ's logistic functions and FTZ's production function. Currently, there are 600 port zones are similar to FTPZ in the worldwide. As for Taiwan, there are 7 FTPZ, including 6 seaports and 1 airport. And these studies will focus on evaluating the operating performance of Kaohsiung Free Trade Port Zone. So let's get into the main topic. This is the research framework, and at first the researcher based on some literature reviews, and they got some assessment factors, and then they asked some FTPZ staff and foreign investors to revise these assessment factors. Then they come up a survey and interview 30 FDI investors. Their satisfaction of these assessment factors and their importance of assessment factors. Then they will use study AHP to calculate the weight of these assessment factors. After that, they can have an IPA model, and they can also get some policy for FTPZ so they can improve their environment. So let's take a look at table 1 first. This is the assessment factors of the investment environment in FTPZ. We can see that there are 4 main factors in this table, include government and economic, production and cost infrastructure. And each main factors include 4 sub-factors, like cost includes CT1 and CT2 and CT3 and CT4. CT1 is cost of land acquirement. It means how much should investors spend on acquire the land. And CT2 means labor cost. It means how much should investors spend on hiring labor. And CT3 means tax incentives. It means another side of cost. Sometimes the port authority may want to attract some investor to invest in the port area, so they will give some discounts or bonus. That's called tax incentive. And CT4 means raw material cost. That means how much should investors spend on the raw material. So based on the 16 assessment factors, we can then ask 30 FDI investors their satisfaction of assessment factors and their importance of these assessment factors. Now let's take a look at Table 2, the profile of respondents. We can see that through the work experience, there are 90% of the investors have over 10 years work experience. And through the job title, we can know that most of them have higher level in their company. So we can know that the result of this research is very reliable. And now let's take a look at the result. Table 3 is the weight of investor perceived importance on assessment factors. We can see that G1, G2, and PD3 and CT3 are the fourth highest weights among these assessment factors. That means G1, political stability and social security, G2, local government efficiency, and PD3, raw material acquired, CT3, tax incentives are important to the investor in Kaohsiung Free Trade Port Zone. As for the weight of investor perceived satisfaction on assessment factors, we can see that CT2 and CT4 and IS2 are the third highest weight among these assessment factors. That means these investors are satisfied with CT2 labor costs and CT4 raw material costs, and also IS2 inland transportation. After we got the weight of satisfaction and the weight of the importance, and then we can get an IPA model. At first, the researcher used the average of satisfaction degrees and the average of important degrees, which is 6.25. And they divide these assessment factors into 4 quadrants, include quadrant 1, quadrant 2, and quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So let's take a look at quadrant 2 first. There are 3 assessment factors included in quadrant 2. That means these 3 assessment factors is very important for investor. But the investor thinks these 3 assessment factors are not very satisfied with these 3 assessment factors. So the policy for quadrant 2's assessment factors is to concentrate here. The Port Authority may need to pay more attention to quadrant 2's assessment factors. As for quadrant 4, there are 2 assessment factors located in this area, include IS2 and GE3. That means the investor thinks these 2 assessment factors are not very important, but they feel very satisfied. So the policy for quadrant 4 is to overkill. The resources in these 2 assessment factors should be better used in elsewhere. In January, Kaohsiung Port Authority can consider transmitting the resources in quadrant 4 to quadrant 2's assessment factors, so they can focus more on quadrant 2. As for quadrant 1 and quadrant 3, the result indicate that these assessment factors perform very well, so they just need to keep on operating, they don't need to change. The researcher also gives some improvement method to quadrant 2, so let's take a look. For G1, political stability and social security, Kaohsiung Port Authority can suggest central government to reduce the inconsistency and non-sustainability of economic policy, because this kind of policy will decrease the investor confidence. For GE2, local government efficiency, Kaohsiung Port Authority can constructing a specialized department to communicate with local government. For FDI investor, the directly unit to censor their problem is both local government and the Kaohsiung Port Authority. So a specialized department can improve the efficiency of local government. PD3, raw material acquirement. A more completely open policy for free trade could be considered. Since Taiwan is a poorly resources country, most of our resources are imported by the other country. So This will be a fatal disadvantage for Kaohsiung Port to attract FDI investors. A free trade policy for import raw materials is very necessary for Kaohsiung Port. Also, the port authority can ask economic ministry to release the restriction of the import raw materials. Now let us review these studies. The research purpose is to evaluating the operating performance of free trade port zone for port companies, so they can have some policy to improve their invest environments. And the research method is based on 16 assessment factors. The researcher asked 30 foreign investors to reply their satisfaction of assessment factors and their importance of these assessment factors. And then they use fuzzy AHP to calculate these assessment factors. After that, they can have an IPA model, and they can devise some policy for Kaohsiung Port Authority. The result indicates that Kaohsiung Port should improve acquirement of raw materials and political stability and social security, also efficiency of local government. That is my conclusion. In addition to responding to the economic situation steadily, port authorities should adjust port operating models in timely to face the various competitive market. Through this research, it can be used as a reference for management for the port authority. Thanks for your listening.
Yes, you did a very good job. Yes, and very clear. Again, everybody's going a little fast, but that's because you only have 12 minutes. But no, you did excellent. I like that you on the references, rather than discuss all of them, you just discuss the ones that were important, and that makes it easier to follow. So that was done very well, and your voice is clear. I understand you, no problem.
You understand her?
Yeah.
You know her before?
From the
No, I don't know her. I said I understand her.
the
English.
English, yeah.
I'm not. I don't know her.
You're scared.
You're scared.
He's thinking I'm in trouble. No. You did a very good job. That's it.
Yeah, that's good. Your pronunciation is really good, really good. And your topic is also interesting because the paper is written by, was written by.
Oh no, he has lots of criticism.
Already. But unfortunately, I have a couple. You have a couple of slides that some break when printing out. You know. So I suggest you in the future, when you want to do a presentation, you need to print out the slide, then look at it, because when I get the slide, you see there are a couple of slides break.
You can go tell the program to print it in grayscale, and it will
grayscale.
change it so that the paper can be read.
Also set the couple, right?
Of course, you don't want to do color because he won't allow the price.
That's the
But no.
mistake out there.
Yeah, just a short question. What are the full name of AHP and IPA?
Full name.
Full name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AHP means analyze.
Hierarchical.
What? Can you know it's in Chinese?
模糊分析法。
模糊是法子 HP.
HB.
Do you know what HP means? In Chinese? 层级
分析。
OK， 层级分析法是不是？
对。
层级或者什么？
那
You know that?
Oh, okay. So
No. What you might do, what he's saying, like you did very nicely here. You put FPZ,
yeah,
and you did it. You might make the writing a little smaller and put a couple definitions there,
yeah, yeah,
and that's all.
yeah. Yeah, just to remind you, you might need to have the full name for every abstraction, abbreviation, yeah, abbreviation, yeah.
Hierarchical.
Hierarchical.
Analytic, hierarchical.
That's a very, very difficult vocabulary, okay, for me. Still, I cannot
Yeah.
fully, okay.
Analytic.
Hierarchical. You said
Hierarchical.
A is analytical. Analysis, you could say analysis, okay, that's a noun. Analytical.
Analytical.
Hierarchical. Process.
Process.
That's a process. How about IPA? I just know another one is IPA. Important performance, is right?
Performance.
Yeah, performance
IPA analysis.
analysis. Yeah.
IPA here, IPA, but you say you use the satisfactory and important degrees, right? Okay. The important degree is the importance, no problem. But the performance, the vertical, the satisfactory, that means use. Usually we use the certification from the customer
Yes.
to measure this company's performance.
Performance. Okay.
Okay.
Satisfaction degree.
Yeah. If that means your customers are very satisfied your service, that means you have to have high performance. Okay. So we use the performance. It's IPA. Here is use the satisfactory to measure the performance. Sometimes this model we call it IS model. Another name is IS model. S is a satisfactory.
Satisfaction.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean this IPA. Another name is the IS model.
Mhm.
It's a simulated set.
Good.
The 16 16 factors you on the literature review, okay? You formulate the 16
Slide 9, I think, is it?
10.
10.
Then
But just a little suggestion. You must list the literature. Okay. You need to tell us where did you come from? The 16 factors. Yes.
Reference.
Yeah, the reference. The literature. You didn't tell us where did you get these 16 factors.
what's the mean the overkill? No, you explain and take an example.
The government authority
Loudly.
decrease the resources in the assessment factors. They will decrease the resources, or they will transmit to other area.
Why they are transfer another resource to another place? Why?
Because their performance is not very good for the investor.
But now I ask her what does it mean the overkill? What's the mean is
For
overkill?
example,
Okay, really.
that
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Okay, you explain that.
They over investment, like over investment.
Over invested.
They put too many
Okay.
resources in that area.
Mhm.
That means overkill.
Okay. You must practice how to answer that. Okay. In English, okay. I wanted to I don't want to them just read the
That's right.
article.
That's
You
right.
must. So I want to ask a Q&A, translate, answer the question. That's not easy for them, but you must practice it. Okay. You explain in the Chinese. What's over here?
就是过度投资。
过度投资 over investment. Okay. You must say this. Okay. Because we now over.
You're spending enough money in that area already.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
need to spend more.
Yeah.
You need to spend the money down in the area of quadrant 2.
Yeah. Concentration on concentration is right. Concentration here. Right. Okay. Next one.